what came first? Your interest in swimming and water activities, or your desire to be in the Coast Guard. How do you get into this job?
My personal story is kind of long. So I was a very active child, enough where my parents decided to call me Two Motors. It was just a name. They said every kid had one motor except I had two. So it kind of stuck with family. They just called me Two Motors. So to combat me being very hyper, they put me in every sport possible. I did swim team up until I was about 8 years old, and then I stopped. Football and soccer were my two sports. I grew up in Tucson. So at that time, I played soccer year round, and football was just very heavily in the family. My dad played college as well. So after high school, I had scholarships for both sports. I chose football over soccer. Went to Western New Mexico University. It's a Division II school. Played there, started for 4 years as a running back, and then graduated. After that, I I became a loan officer for Wells Fargo Financial. This was during the subprime mortgages and all that. So this was 2003. Um, and I had moved back home with my best friend and my cousin, who's like brother. We got a house together. They were on the 5, 6 year plan, but my scholarship was only 4 years. So parents said I had to graduate in 4 years. So I was working a real job. They were enjoying college, and I tried to do both. It didn't happen too well. So one night after quite a few drinks, we were eating burritos and we were watching storm stories on the Weather Channel for some random reason. And I saw somebody jump out of a helicopter, and I said, "Hey, that looks really cool." My cousin said, "You've always been the best swimmer out of all of us," which doesn't mean anything. I stopped when I was 8 years old. And so I kind of put in my 2 weeks, and 6 months later, I was in the Coast Guard. So
Wow.
that's
Very cool.
that is a roundabout way of saying how I knew nothing about the Coast Guard. Tucson is in the desert, obviously. I didn't even know what the Coast Guard was. I wanted to be a firefighter, but the wait at that time was about 2.5 years. So I didn't want to wait to do anything. I just wanted to go do it. So I joined, talked to the recruiter, said, "This is what I want to do." And he said, at that time, he told me that I probably wouldn't make it. And I said, "Okay, but I would like to try." And I got shipped off. There was no specialty stuff after boot camp. Um, so went to boot camp. I had high enough ASVAB scores and test scores, and I was able to put myself on the rescue swimmer list. So in the Coast Guard enlisted side, after you graduate from boot camp, you're not rated. So you normally go spend time at a unit, and then if you have the qualifying scores to go aviation or to go, as I call it, into the boat world, you just pick your path. So I qualified to become a AST. I was able to pass the initial physical, which was like, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was push-ups, pull-ups, a run, and 500-yard swim. And the times were not difficult at all. And then after I got selected, I had to wait on the list for a few months. And so I was on that boat for about 9 months. And then I was off to my airman program, which my airman program was 4 months long. So I went to an air station that had swimmers, and they train you to go to a school at that time. That's just how this whole process worked. Um, and they trained me for about 4 months, and then I went off to ASTA school, which was about another. I think at that time it was 18 weeks long. And so it's about an 8 month process. And then I graduated, and I barely graduated, but I did graduate. It was very challenging, some of the hardest stuff I've ever done. So